Hello, and welcome to another edition of Tips
with Joan and Priya.
This is our segments now that we're doing shorter, more intense segments as part of our Follow Me Friday with
Joan and Priya.
Screw that up every time. I am so honored and excited. We're a little more serious today. It's going to be a little bit more of a serious topic, but we want it to be educational and fun. At the same time, we're wearing blue. We're all wearing blue right now today in honor of, it is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And our guest today, I'm so honored to introduce Nina Agrawal, MD, otherwise known as Dr. Nina. And our topic for today is saying heck no to taking stress out on kids during COVID. It's pretty intense right now. Priya, tell us about our guest.
Sure. So Dr. Nina is an experienced, innovative, passionate physician. She is a thought leader and advocate in adverse childhood experiences. Dr. Nina is a board-certified child abuse pediatric doctor and general pediatric doctor as well. Welcome, Dr. Nina.
Thank you for having me, Joan and Priya.
She is an all-over amazing human being, and I'm really curious, Dr. Nina, to find out more about this. I know we've talked separately, all three of us. We've had a little conversation about what you are calling the 3 L's. And I know Priya has 3 children home right now, and their friends are going through a lot of different feelings and things that are happening in and outside of their homes. So it's really great that we can really highlight this today and talk about this. So can you tell us a little bit more about what you mean by the 3 L's and how you came up with this?
Sure. I came up with the 3 L's, look, listen, love, in response to the COVID pandemic. Everybody's stressed. Parents are stressed and kids are stressed too. The pandemic is affecting children. And so what can we do to support parents and kids? And I thought about, what can we do basically to save lives? We use CPR, and that's look, listen, feel. So I modified that to look, listen, love. And what that means is we need to do virtual check-ins with our loved ones, our neighbors, people in our lives that we think might be extra stressed out. Do virtual check-ins on the phone, see if there are any signs of distress, listen, offer a listening ear, allow them to vent any stress that they're having, and listen for signs of stress, and love. Parents love their kids, but, we all know when we're stressed out, it's hard for us to show it. So they might need some support, and kids especially need some support. So love parents, love kids, let them know that you care about them and that they can count on you.
Wow.
I love that. And it's sort of like virtual CPR that you're giving people.
That's a good point.
Exactly. And I think the reason for the CPR approach is that the schools are our lifeline to children, to protecting children. So we need a new lifeline, and that needs to be all of us. We all need to be that line that kids and parents can call upon, if they need help right now.
I'm like the aunt of my building. I don't have my own kids. I have nieces and nephews, but I am constantly checking in on the kids that are still in the building. Some families have left, but I'm checking in on the children. How would I know? What would I do using the 3 L's?
Right. Well, great question. And thank you for checking in on people that That's so important. It's nice that people are just picking up the phone, hearing a voice. And I think that makes a difference, text versus voice. And then you have the visual, right? So I think the virtual check-in is probably the best. And you can, with children, sometimes you can tell whether something's bothering them. They may not tell you, but you can see it in their face. And maybe they're more angry than usual, or maybe they're more withdrawn than usual. Maybe they're not responding to any questions, just some change in mood. And that's often how we detect child abuse, is when there's some change in behavior. and just listening. Ask, how's it going? How's this affecting you? Give them the open to talk about whatever's on their mind, and and then go from there. You have to kind of work with the situation, and then you can always follow up with a call another time if you're not sure, and you just want to do another check-in.
Are there any other resources that parents can use? So we know some of us have friends that they can rely on. Some of us, not everybody has a spouse. There are a lot of single parents out there that probably are even more stressed out taking care of their children if they're quarantined with them alone.
Or if they're essential workers,
Yes. So are there any outside resources that parents can use as support?
Yeah, there are quite a few resources out there. One of the good resources is Prevent Child Abuse America. They have a lot of great resources, and every state has their own chapter. So like in New York, we have Prevent Child Abuse in New York, which has great resources as well. And then there's the American Academy of Pediatrics, which has tips for parents and coping with COVID, and basically how to engage their children, keep them busy, homeschool them. Kids are going stir crazy, parents are going stir crazy. So, here are some ideas on how to decrease stress in your home. I do think that there is a role for all of us to play. We all need to step in, whether you're the person at the grocery store, whether you're the person at the pharmacy. We all can report child abuse. So we all need to take that citizenry that we're looking at now in COVID, that we all are, staying safe. We're all putting on face masks, but kids might not be getting sick from COVID. They may be abused, they may be neglected. So that is a health issue as well that we all need to take a role in.
Do you have any tips for approaching someone? So, for example, if there's an extreme situation, if you are at the supermarket and you see a child and there's something happening that's not right, how do you approach the parent? Because obviously the parent's going to be defensive, and it's obviously going to cause a scene if you approach them in the wrong way. What kind of language can people use to approach parents if they're trying to help?
Yeah, it's a great question, because I can tell you it happens on the New York city subway a lot.
Yeah.
See a lot of stressed out people, and it on a good day this happens, and now we're in a more stressful situation.
We're not judging. We're trying not to judge them, because you never know what's really going on. Like maybe the kid just did something really bad. We don't know. So it's hard. So yeah, your advice would be great to know.
Yeah, just the language, again, just the language, to make sure that people are approaching. So it's like using I statements instead of you statements, that type of thing.
Right. Well, what I do is I engage the child, actually. I think they're proud of their kids, and they may not, in that moment, they may not be able to engage with their the child might be might be a 2-year-old taking another temper tantrum. So what I try and do is engage the child and make eye contact, engage them in play, and kind of de-escalate the situation, and say your child is cute, and I think that kind of that lessens a parent's defense in feeling judged, like you said, and being a poor parent. And then I might say, look, it sounds like like, how are things going? Or, I see like this is going on. I've done this so many times in the clinical setting. And what I do is I might get crayons, I might get a piece of paper, I might like give something to the child, so to engage the child, so that, it de-escalates the situation. But if it's just, in public, that's what I do. I try and engage the child, and the mother usually does calm down. But then if it doesn't de-escalate, then I'm like, hey, is there something I can do to help out? I see that, you're having a tough time. And they might be defensive, but, at the same time, I think when they see you're there to help, I think it might, open the door for them to say, look, I am having problems.
Yeah.
And that actually did happen to me once. I was in a cab on the Lower East Side, and a mother was shaking her child, and it was at nighttime, and I got out of the cab, and I was like, hey, it looks like you're having a hard time. And she was upset initially, but then I said, look, I'm a doctor. And she's like, oh, he's having a fever, and, what should I do? And then she, and then we just talked about it, and, he stopped crying and she stopped shaking him. And hopefully, we averted, a potential abusive incident.
Wow. That sounds like it probably, and it probably would have been intense. And then I'm sure her response. So if I'm on the New York City subway and I see a parent screaming or whatever, you almost feel like if you say something, they're going to scream back at you, like, what business is yours? Mind your own business, or something to that effect.
Don't tell me about a parent kind of thing.
Yeah, but what you did is that you didn't give up. You still continued with the conversation, and you didn't elevate your voice, correct?
No, it was support.
I like that. Now, what if, so a lot of our listeners are all different. They're parents, they could be teachers, they could be healthcare workers, they could just be friends and neighbors. Is there a way, if it's another child even, for the child to let someone know in a safe way?
Yes, if they feel that they're in danger, there are resources for children, and I think it's so important right now that kids know what those resources are. Mm-hmm. I know in New York, Governor Cuomo has been promoting the mental health hotline for people. We also have to recognize children are having mental health problems as a result of the pandemic. So there are hotlines for kids, and there are also chat lines for kids. As far as if they feel like they're in danger, they just want to reach out for help. There's the childhelpline.org, and there's a hotline. It's 1-800-422-4453.
We'll make sure we put that in the chat as well.
Absolutely.
I know once you and I had talked about children and safe words. Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Right. Yeah, I think that's a great question, in that we need to do what's called safety planning. When children might be in danger, what we do as clinicians, we do what's called safety planning. Look, if this were to happen, what would you do? Kind of like if there's a fire, what would you do? Yeah. I would call 911, I would do this. So same thing now with schools closed. We don't have the ability for kids to tell their teachers when they're feeling in danger. So we need to give them these tools now while schools are open, but less available. And then especially when schools are closed for the summer. And so ways to do that are identify somebody that you trust, an adult that you can talk to if you feel that you're in danger. So identify that person now. And, and then the other thing is create a safe word with that person or with your teacher, like, hey, you could use a word, a cookie, I need some cookies right now. And that the person would understand that meant that, look, I need to get out of this situation now.
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good to know. That's really good to know.
And if they're in the classroom environment, they might not feel embarrassed to say something.
Right.
Even it can give the teacher a cue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. They could email with the teacher. They could chat back with the teacher. They could say it in a group setting. Exactly.
Have you recently had experiences where children have had to be removed from homes?
Well, unfortunately, that I've had that experience before COVID. We're not going to see that now. And that's the problem, is that children are in these isolated situations where the pressure is building, they might be abused, and they can't get out. So removals are, well, one thing is reports to the state central registry, the hotline for children, have gone down precipitously across the country. And so if the reports are going down, it means that children are likely in abusive situations, but not going to be removed from that situation. So
Yeah, and then they will have the school system as a support system for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
exactly. They are our biggest support system for children. They report 20% of child abuse cases, and without them, you know, we've seen already what's happened. We've seen a decrease in reporting.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm loving the 3 L's. They sound doable. They sound rememberable or memorable. They sound like a kid could remember these things as well as an adult. So I applaud you for what you're doing. We're wearing blue to signify that today, and I applaud what you're doing.
Well, thank you. The hope is that we have found a gap in the safety net for kids, and I'm hoping that the look, listen, love approach will last us beyond the pandemic. In that, you know, I think what we found in this pandemic is that we need social connections. We need to look out for each other, and this is a way to do that beyond the pandemic.
I wonder, you know, it's interesting. The pandemic brought this out, but it seems like, at least for your purposes, this was necessary to come out prior. And it's such a beautiful thing that it did come out, even though it's, you know, it's a hard situation we're dealing with overall, but it's great that it came out now and it can be useful now and in the future.
Yeah, exactly. It's a challenge and an opportunity to keep kids safer.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank
How
you,
can
Dr.
people get in touch with you if they want? I know you wrote a New York Times op-ed.
Yes.
You've been on CNN. You've been on BBC. I know you're going to have a lot more going on, so we get a little piece of you now. But how can people talk with you and find out more about and work with you?
Right, they're welcome to email me. They're welcome to find me on LinkedIn. They're welcome to look for me on Twitter. So any form of those social media are great.
And we'll put all that information in the comments below and on this video for you to reference later.
Awesome.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Nina.
Thank you so much for being our guest. And this is our show for today. Thank you for joining us for Tips
With Joan Priya.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.